Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Red Net Show, where it's always morning, even in the afternoon. I am your host, Jay Edgar, and I'm joined once again, returning from a week off because of the commie fucking coop, by my wonderful co-host, Elaine. Welcome back.
Hi. Thanks.
And many thanks to Robert, too, for sitting in for us last week. That was a huge help for me, and a help to all of us as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. How are you feeling? Did you get your sense of taste back?
No, I still don't have a sense of taste. I can only tell, I can tell when things are sweet or salty or tangy, things like that, but I can't taste something and be like, that tastes like ranch, or that tastes like this. And I don't have anything like that. So we'll see how long it takes to come back.
Yeah. I mean, if you're looking for salty, you can always go find our mutual friend Britt. She's good for the salt.
That's true, I can.
Very, very proud of that, too, there. But even in your absence, the news stops for nobody this week. It has been a week, too, as well. We've got a bunch of stuff to catch up on from various stories we've talked to out of the past here, but some big news coming up here. The budget has come up as a showdown, and I say budget even though I'm talking about an omnibus package here, but it's been a will they, won't they on the stimulus package for the last week once again. Finally coming down to the won't they, but some interesting things happened around the homes of the two people in charge there because of it. So we'll talk a bit about everything that went along with there. Tomorrow is the day that people go to the polls in Georgia and decide who is going to control the Senate. So we'll talk a bit about what our thoughts are and a preview for that. And the next day, they count the votes up in D.C. So we'll talk a bit about what we think is going to happen on Wednesday as well, including a D.C. hotel that's usually frequented by the Proud Boys getting shut down. So we'll make some predictions. We'll talk a bit about what we think is going to happen with there and how that's going to go. Josh Hawley decided that he was going to protest the results of the election, which is fine. He gets his little debate there. But Walmart decided that they were going to come in and get on his case about that. Or, I guess, the social media director for Walmart. But, one thing may or may not be the other. So we'll talk a bit about what happened there. But it looks like a bunch of other people are signing on to this as well. So we'll talk a bit about there. The Nashville story continues to go along here, with including some interesting side stories that have come along with that. I know that you said that was home for you, so I dedicated some extra time for that instead of just putting that up into the lightning round like I would usually do on something that we're catching up on or reviewing on as well. The Hunter things are keeping going, so we'll talk a bit about that. And coronavirus runs rampant, including here in my state, where a lab tech decided he was just going to leave the vaccine out of refrigeration, and now it seems that it was deliberate. So we'll talk just a bit about that. Plus, I got a little bit of surprise stupidity to round out the show here. Our society is so stupid that I can do this every week religiously here, but this one came from outside of our society, and I think you'll get a little bit of a smile out of this one here. So it's going to be all of that and more over on the Red Ned Show. Thanks for checking us out live over on YouTube, DLive, Twitch, Periscope, and Facebook. And if you're over on Facebook, hit one of the links above you so we can come back and talk to you in the live chat. And if you can't catch us live, you can catch us back on demand over on YouTube and over on BitChute.com. Check us out over there. Links are in the description below you. So go ahead and check us out in all of those places. And lastly, you can come and check us out over on the Freedom Scoop Media Group, along with great shows such as the above-mentioned Britt from the Freckles and Britt Show. You can also find the Generational Gap, where our guest co-host Robert will reside. You can find the Daily Ignoramus, the R-Rated Conservative, the Breakdown with Birkenhoff, and more. Come on over there, pick up some of our swag, and help us support great creators. A lot of stuff to catch up on here, and a lot of stuff here. And we're going to start off with something that would have been normally innocuous in any other time. But, just this picture popping up here definitely did catch the attention of some of our more racially motivated 4chan friends, I would think, here. And this picture has been making the rounds off of this here. Be smart, stay apart. But if you'll notice who is in the picture in some of these things, that's why our racist 4chan friends have decided to latch onto this one. Have you seen this one?
I did see this, and I was just, Yeah, it was not done very well. It was an attempt to be inclusive that completely backfired.
I thought it was funny. And of course,
It is
we see
funny.
some of the other memes and comics that have come up with this, but yeah, you knew if you were going to put something up like that. And then, I mean, if you join the Discord server, you can find some of the spicier stuff that gets done out in there. But our friend Saint, our mutual friend Saint, found a very, very spicy comic that went along with this one here that I don't know if YouTube will allow me to put up on the screen, to be honest.
Oh, I did not see that.
It's in the Funny Papers tab over on the Discord server. So if you want to go over there and check that one out, and of course, link in the description below if you guys want to join up and talk with us here. We've got some conversations. You can help shape this show and contemporary as well. We've got tabs for that, and sometimes we do a movie night, sometimes we do call-in shows. That's all there. All right, what else did we have going on this week? This story. So I'm gonna back up on this. This is actually an old story from here in Wisconsin. It just got a little bit of an update off of this here. You tweeted at me on this, and I was looking at this while I was getting ready to go in and order dinner on Saturday night, which is probably why I had food on the brain. So this is, let me get the picture up here.
Food on the brain, literally.
Yeah, that's probably an apt way to put this. So this is what came up here on the tweet here. Kate tweets out a news article with a blushing face that says, brain wrapped in aluminum foil washes ashore on Wisconsin beach. I've got the article up. I can probably cite from a little bit for. However, you tweeted at me over this. Let me get that one back up here.
I think I just said, "What are you all doing up there?"
Yeah, I've got the screen grab up there too. What are you all doing up there? And I said I'd call that buried treasure. By the way, this will be in the lightning round because I wanted to talk about it here. I realized as soon as I tweeted that back out, and I looked back at this, that said brain because I thought it said bacon. I thought it was bacon
Yeah,
wrapped.
You're like, I thought it was bacon. You must not have looked at the photo.
I glanced at it. I was outside the sushi bar, so I looked back at that.
Apparently was also found accompanied by pink flowers and foreign money. It does not say what kind of money, just foreign money. So black market brain washes up in Racine, Wisconsin.
That's not that far from me. And yeah, like I said, this happened. I think it was last spring they were talking about it on the news, but it looks like the update came up from the ME's office that it was not a human brain, which that was the first question that they had going along with this.
Oh, okay.
My guess, and this is just my guess, the foreign money thing bothers me. But my guess was that it was just they cut the brain out of something for a taxidermy purpose, like a deer or something, and they just chucked it.
I don't know. That was a pretty big brain. Deer skulls are fairly small. Their brain cavity is not that large.
No, that it's not. But that's
How much
my
brain
guess.
how much brain do you possibly need to know to run from danger and eat the food?
And stand in front of the automobile.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's what we have off of this one here. So that was I just wanted to share that for my inability to read and comprehend into things here. You
Thinking it
texted
was bacon.
you texted this one to me, and this actually was a couple months ago, but I had never heard about this. I thought it was entertaining. Idaho
It
teen
was hilarious.
sexually assaulted by a grizzly bear while disguised as a Sasquatch for a hoax video.
I think this was like a TikTok video gone wrong or something. Like
I have so
I don't know
many
how
questions.
I don't know how you accomplish that many things in one like incident.
Newsbreak writes a prank attempt went terribly wrong for a 14-year-old boy from Boise as he was raped by a 700-pound grizzly bear while walking around in the woods in a Sasquatch costume.
Teenagers.
Yeah, I can't do anything else more for this one.
Reason number 5,621 why women live longer than men. We
Nice.
do not run around in the forest dressed as Sasquatch and get raped by bears.
I have so many questions and I don't want to ask any of them on the air right now. In political news here, as if we didn't think that this was going to happen off of this. Well, actually, it was pretty narrow margin off of this. Nancy Pelosi has been reelected the speaker, so she will hold the gavel for another 2 years. Hopefully longer than she can hold her teeth in. CNN reports that after serving for 17 years in charge of the House Democrats, Pelosi ran unopposed in her election. She is the first woman to be the Speaker, leading the House from 2006 to 2011, and since the Democrats took back the House in 2018. So this will be her fourth term of doing this. She received 216 votes, which was enough considering a handful of members either voted present or the seats were vacant. House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy received 209. And actually, because I watched this live, and when I tuned in, McCarthy was ahead by a pretty fair amount. I'm a little surprised.
Yeah, we were discussing it in another group chat that I'm in on Twitter, and some people changed their votes the last minute when they realized that their vote was going to make it so that Kevin McCarthy won and Nancy wouldn't have enough votes. They changed it, including everyone's favorite Congresswoman, AOC.
It was the whole squad that did that because they were all...
Yeah, they did. They kept saying, "Oh, we need new leadership. We need new leadership in the House," and then they had their chance and
they fell in line.
Voted for the Wicked Witch of the West.
This bizarre thing, because now the first session of the 117th has started here, and the minister, Emmanuel Cleaver, who is a representative from Missouri, had this to say at the end of it. Hold on. It's loading. Oh, I didn't open it back up. It's still thinking, though. Come on, there you go. There we go. Interact. Play.
We ask it in the name of the monotheistic God, Brahma, and God known by many names, by many different faiths. A man and a woman.
Amen and a woman. Don't you feel included?
No, I don't. Because it makes no sense. I would rather not be included with things that are nonsensical. Ridiculous.
Daily Wire reports briefly here that Emmanuel Cleaver, who is an ordained United Methodist minister, opened the first session on Sunday by praying in the name of a Hindu god and twisting the word amen into a commentary on gender. We've got to be inclusive. We can't just look at this as isn't amen like Aramaic or something? I don't even know the root of it. I know I've been saying at the end of prayer for 36 years.
I'm the wrong person to ask this. I was raised United Methodist, though, and this is very shameful.
Now, I was not raised Methodist, but I do live in Wisconsin, and what we know about Wisconsin is if you live here, half your friends are Catholic, a quarter are Lutheran, and a quarter are Methodist.
Right. No, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, that's not a commentary on anything because it's literally just a made-up word. I mean, it's nothing. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Well, left is gonna left, I guess. That's what I got to say to that. Breaking this morning, Iran is back in the news here, which if you thought that, Joe and the Ho weren't going to get us back into war, you're going to be sorely mistaken off of this one here.
It's in the Middle East.
No. Iran starts 20% uranium enrichment, seizes South Korean ship. So just a little bit of a rundown off of this, and I read this on Contemporary this morning. As of this year, Rouhani came out and said, you know what, fuck this. We're going to start enriching to 20%, even though the Iran nuclear deal that we have with the rest of Europe and not the U.S. says thou shalt not. But they also grabbed a South Korean ship that was, if I remember correctly, going from South Korea to Saudi Arabia and then back, was there where they were headed to. The sailors on the ship have been detained and arrested. They are facing questioning right now in Iran. South Korea,
how do you get arrested for they weren't even in the country? How do you get arrested by a country when you're not even there? If they were in international water, there is no reason for this to have happened.
Well, Just like I said with leftists, Iran's going to Iran. Israel is, of course, jumping in on this, saying that there's no way that Iran is going to get a nuclear weapon, and they will actively stop them. Which, if you ever read Revelation, the apocalypse is going to come from Israel and Persia. Bet you that makes you sleep well at night.
Yep, it's great.
So we will see what comes back out of this. On some good news, Representative-elect, now Representative Lauren Boebert, has made a win in Congress here. Lauren Boebert has won the right to carry her gun on the Capitol. Now, why can't the rest of us do this?
So far, I kind of like her. She's got balls.
She's based as shit.
I just don't want her to go like off the reservation like Matt Gaetz.
She's going to.
I hope not, though.
So, brief background on this story. 21 Democratic lawmakers came together once they found out that Boebert was going to be elected and come into the Congress to try and get Nancy Pelosi to change the rules in the Capitol so that she couldn't carry. However, 82 current GOP Congress members signed on to a letter demanding that Boebert be allowed to carry while she is in the congressional building. Mm-hmm. Nancy Pelosi revealed the rules and said nothing about carrying. So, yes, at this point, Boebert can carry. Boebert gave a statement that says, "I refuse to give up my Second Amendment rights. I'm a 5-foot-tall, 100-pound mom with 4 children and will be walking to work and serving in one of the most dangerous cities in the U.S. I choose to defend my family and my life with all of the force the Constitution provides. I will not let a bunch of gun-grabbing House Democrats take away my constitutional right to protect myself." Super based.
Seems reasonable to me. There are other congressmen that have guns in their offices, though. I think Ken Buck is one of them, and he's also from Colorado.
Yes.
And I think that they tried to get him in trouble for having a loaded firearm in his office, and basically he just said, "Tough shit, I'm not taking it out." I think it might have been AOC that threw a fit about it, but
that wouldn't surprise me.
And I'm sure he is not the only one either.
So, that's what we're seeing off of that. What else is on the stack here? Joe Biden calls for unity. Comedian says, "Fuck that, I want blood." And then conservatives pile on.
He's a comedian.
Yeah.
What do you want? He's an entertainer. He's going to play the shock jock card any chance he gets.
Which is weird because the leftists hate the shock jocks right now, but they're going to like them again here, I think, coming up in this next term here. David Cross tweets out, "Fuck that, I want blood," when Joe Biden says after a year of pain and loss, it's time to unite, heal, and rebuild. But I can see where the people on the harder right look at this and say, you know what? You've been threatening us for 4 years. Now we don't want your unity either. This is, I'm planning on doing a solo video on secession and my thoughts on it, because as a Federalist, I like the idea. And as a Federalist, my ideal country is a half step away from secession anyway. But I know that as soon as states start to secede, these big population centers are going to say, "Oh my God, our resources!" And then more people will die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I did a little thought experiment. I can't remember where. Oh, in a Keybase chat that I'm part of. And I just said, let's just do a thought experiment. Like, what steps would a state have to take to exit and secede? Like, what would have to happen, infrastructure wise? What would have to happen funding wise? What would they have to do with their economy? How big would their economy have to be? If they have outstanding debt to the United States, how would that be handled? I just wanted to go down the list and say, all these things that they normally get federal funds for, how are they going to pay for it? And I wasn't even going to touch the question of whether or not the federal government of the United States would even allow it to happen. It was just, I wanted to know from a practical perspective, what does that actually take? Because I think one of the things that, we don't talk about enough in libertarian circles and liberty-minded circles is, what's the best way to not have to bow to federal pressure? Not being dependent on it. Mm-hmm. So if you're not the less dependent you are as a state on the federal government, the more of your own rules you can make. And when the federal government tries to tell you no, you can be like, bye. I don't need you. I do not need you to take care of my education. I do not need you to take care of this. We figured out our own highway system. We figured this out. We don't need your butting in. I mean, and that's exactly what happened when they was it speed limits or drunk driving? Like drinking and driving. I can't remember which one it was, but one of the reasons that that got passed on at a national federal level was because I think it was Reagan said, if you don't raise the drinking age to 21, we're just going to withhold funds for your highway system.
That was Carter.
Carter. Okay.
That was Carter because that happened. So my dad was born in 58. My mom was born in 60.
Hmm.
My dad got grandfathered into the old drinking age, and my mom had to wait until the new one.
Hmm. But that's a perfect example. If a state had been self-contained with their own highway system, they could have said, fuck you, we're making it 18.
Hmm.
We don't care.
Well,
But they all had to bow to that pressure because they were dependent on the federal funding for their highway system. So if you don't want to be federally dependent, then you have to actually make the effort to disentangle yourself from it so that you can be more independent.
and dare I use the old left wing argument to go with it? Well, someone else will have to figure out how to build the roads.
I'm so tempted to quote Eric July right now.
Moving on with that, our old friends in St. Louis are back in the news once again. Kimberly Gardner has appealed the judge's decisions to dismiss her from the office from prosecuting the case of Mark and Patricia McCloskey, and she wants to be back in. So, catching us back up on this story here, Judge Thomas Clark II dismissed Gardner for using the McCloskey case to advance her own political career and having a political bias against this. Now she's appealing to try and get back into this so she can use this to advance her political career.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't think this case is ever going to end. We're going to be talking about this until the next election cycle, probably.
Probably.
They're just
Yeah,
gonna
it says that she argued the judge's ruling set an extremely low standard by which prosecutors could be removed from cases. Well, I don't know. You sent fundraising emails mentioning them.
Yeah.
Probably wasn't very smart.
Ghislaine Maxwell has been in and out of the news over the past few weeks. Ghislaine Maxwell has been again denied bail out of this. The judge has ruled that Maxwell still poses a flight risk.
Well, yeah, she's still a millionaire, so she still has money to leave the country.
She still knows people in other countries.
Yes.
And
I think she still even owns a house in other country in France or something like that.
I bet you
They
she
just
owns
don't want
houses.
to they don't want to let her go for good reason.
I don't know if it's because they think that she's going to run, though. I think it's because they don't want her to, come upon a severe bout of depression.
Or a car accident.
Or
Emphasis on accident.
my brakes were working when I left.
Exactly.
All right, what else do I have here? I got one more here. This one I thought was interesting because I didn't find out about this until it was going.
Bring on the quarantine.
Go away, Fox News autoplay. The federal government has reversed its course on charging distilleries $14,000 in fines for making emergency hand sanitizers. So, one of the things that was going on during the beginning of the commie coup was the fact that some of these distilleries, who were already set up to make alcohol, decided they were going to step into the fight and they were going to help supply the hand sanitizer because it was shorted in almost every grocery store shelf. And all of the buddies, like S.C. Johnson, looked at this and said, fuck that, they're taking this out of our business and we can't jack the prices up if they try to take it up. So now they all got fined. Well, the FDA came back in and said, we're not going to enforce this fine. Get rid of that shit.
Yeah, it was the IRS that was going to apply the fine. And the FDA said no. And what a lot of people don't realize is that the IRS does not talk to other departments. The only department that the IRS even would think about talking to in the federal government is the Social Security Administration, even though they are completely separate. They don't even talk to the legal system, like, at all. If you have a divorce decree and you are supposed to alternate years claiming children or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If your ex beats you to filing and claims both kids or one kid when they shouldn't, the IRS will do absolutely nothing. They're just like, no, sorry, that's not our thing. Like, they do not talk to other departments at all. So I'm very surprised that the FDA was like, we're not doing this and you're not doing it either. They'll probably still try to assess these fines, but if people fight them on it, they won't collect.
You don't think?
Um,
I mean, the government's going to try and get its money, no matter.
There might have to be a class action lawsuit, but I think ultimately the taxpayers have the upper hand.
Well, that's what we're seeing off of this here. Let's talk about the budget.
Which part of the budget? There were over 5,000 pages in that budget.
Well, I want to take a second and just talk about some of the wild roller coaster that's been going along with this and the stimulus that have come off of this. But I wanted to start with this, talking about just what happened this weekend in Mitch McConnell's home and Nancy Pelosi's home. So I've got the picture up here of Mitch McConnell's front door. Let me get that up. There it is. Where it was spray painted on there, "Where's my money?" Now, in similar situations, both in Kentucky and in San Francisco this week, both the congressional leaders' homes were vandalized in similar fashions here. Reading quickly from Politico, vandals lashed out at the leaders of the U.S. House and Senate over the holiday weekend, blighting their homes with graffiti and, in one case, a pig's head, as Congress failed to approve an increase in the amount of money being sent to individuals to help cope with the coronavirus pandemic. Spray paint on the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's door in Kentucky on Saturday read, "Where's my money? Mitch kills the poor," was scrawled all over a window. A profanity directed at the Republican senator was painted under the mailbox. At Speaker Pelosi's home in San Francisco, someone spray-painted graffiti and left a pig's head and fake blood on the New Year's Day. Police said the vandalism was reported around 2 a.m. Friday, a police statement said, and a special investigation unit is trying to determine who did it.
It's a classic whodunit.
Yeah. And I don't...
One, this is stupid. Because if as a government you have taken away people's ability to provide for themselves, you are now responsible for their well-being.
Mm-hmm.
After that point, like, it's real hard to find a libertarian solution because we're past that point now.
Right.
Obviously, this budget bill was chock full of foreign aid and a lot of other things that shouldn't have been in there. Pork just oozing out of it. But the very last thing they should have been doing was getting upset about giving taxpayers more of their money back.
Mm-hmm.
This should not be that difficult.
And yet,
is it fiscally responsible to add more money to the bill? No, but we're beyond that point now. Like, you can't, that's not even, that argument to me just does not hold water.
Well, I want to stay on the vandalism for just a sec before we get into because this has been an absolute roller coaster going along with the stimulus check by itself. It's been from the beginning, are they going to do it? Are they not going to do it here? But the fact of the matter, these people are going to the homes of these people and doing this. Now, as far as the McConnell home one goes, he is the architect that has been shutting this down from the beginning. And I can understand them going off of this, but I looked at the Pelosi thing this weekend, and the first thing that I saw was that her house got vandalized shortly after McConnell's did, and this has got to be a fucking hoax. This has got to be coming out. What's that?
I think people are just mad. People are angry. They have every right to be angry, and they're not going to settle anymore. I mean, Nancy Pelosi has not been an angel throughout this process either.
No, that she has not. And I mean, I will give the fact now, yes, some of this does look strange. Like somebody pointed out the fact that the anarchy A's on Nancy Pelosi's door mysteriously missed the masonry and just got on the wood, where it's easier to clean and get replaced and everything. And mysteriously, they didn't get it on any of the masonry, whereas you can see in the corner of the Mcconnell picture here that they did spray paint, and I can't see what was written there, but they did spray paint onto the brickwork itself on McConnell's home. But I also remember this is the same home, so, and this is where I understand where people are upset enough with Nancy Pelosi to do this. This is the same home where somebody got out into Nancy Pelosi's driveway, started live streaming himself taking a crap in her driveway. So, I mean, it's believable that something could have happened.
That's amazing.
But I don't know.
I'm not mad about it. Like, hey, your choices have consequences. We don't do tar and feathering anymore. Apparently we spray paint driveways or garage doors or whatever the case may be.
But going back now to where you were going with the stimulus itself, this has been a very much a will they and won't they, and there's been new developments off of this week. As of right now, it does appear that we are in the point of that they will not be going out and sending more of this out. And I sent you the article over on your Twitter, not the article, but the actual House bill itself. So the bill passed in the House to increase the size to $2,000. No, of course, there's a lot of legalese in there that explains where this is all going to come from, and the fact that people are going to be getting
No,
far
it's being
less.
printed.
Yeah.
It's just being printed. We don't have any money now. Like, there is no money. There is no such thing as money. It's all fake. I said this in the restream. Having a budget implies that there are limits. And we both know what happens every time the government gets close to hitting their quote unquote limit or their debt ceiling. They raise it or they suspend it, period.
And I want to say thank you to Spartan, by the way, because he threw a lemon at us. I just caught that out of the corner of my eye. So thank you, Spartan, for that. But going back onto this, it did pass the House. Now, McConnell came out, and I've got the article up in the notes here, but McConnell came out and said that he couldn't pass this because all of this bill was doing was passing along more money to the Democrats' rich friends. And that's the reason I sent you the House bill that increased the size, because I don't know where he got that from. I read the thing front to back.
He's low key insinuating all of the things that people already know, is that money gets laundered through foreign aid and other programs back to districts and to Congress people individually for their own companies or the companies of their families or, whatever, just like the Biden and the Hunter thing. I mean, he definitely got kickbacks.
But that's in the omnibus. That's not in the stimulus. The stimulus was a standalone, even though they had to sign them at the same time. The stimulus itself is a standalone.
You're talking about the amendment?
Yeah, the amendment that I sent you.
Okay. The amendment. All right.
Yeah.
That's different. You were not clear about that.
So, yeah, and that's why he said he couldn't increase the size to $2,000 because all this is doing, all they're going to do is she's using this and it's full of pork and it's just going to get her rich friends richer. And I couldn't find it in there.
Because it's not part of the amendment, but they're
Right.
passing both together. So you can't fix one without separating them, maybe? I don't know.
You can't really fix a whole lot of anything off of this, but I mean, that's what we'll see coming off of this. But they're going to have to send me the check because I don't trust the government with my bank account information. And it's going to get here. It's going to get here and it's going to get sliced up again. And I'm going to write another strongly worded letter back to the government explaining to them that they don't have the money to cover the check that they just sent me.
Did you see my not my text, but my meme about this?
No.
Encouraging people to call McConnell.
I missed that one.
Oh, it was funny. It was like, you're an adult now. Nothing is stopping you from getting drunk and from drunk dialing senators. Here's McConnell's phone number.
Oh, jeez. Well, I mean, this has been interesting, too, because I know I've got the Politico article up here, because Bernie Sanders it's giving away free money from the government. Of course, Bernie Sanders is going to have a decrepit old hard-on over this, because he's a fucking communist, but, I mean, he was out there trying to delay and filibuster the NDAA veto override over this year, which they managed to get that accomplished here too. I know Jen the Libertarian last week was talking about, oh, well, Trump didn't sign, he vetoed the NDAA and it's Libertarian Christmas again. No, they had a
No.
veto-proof majority in that one. That's not
Yeah.
going anywhere.
That was a bone. That was a bone for libertarians who voted for him. That's all that was. It was posturing. He knew he was never going to get that veto through.
Well, yeah, and it's, I mean, looking into this and looking at the Iran story and who's coming into the White House potentially by a completely above board honk honk wink wink election that happened this past year. Looking at who's coming in here, I've actually asked the question, is it hypocritical for me to go buy stock in Raytheon?
No.
I'm anti-war, but I can make some money off of this.
Right? It's a catch-22.
If we're going to go, I might as well make some money back off of this. But I mean, Raytheon they're funding all these people. It was the same thing with your former employer when she came out and said, first thing I do is make the order to bring all the troops back home. Well, you can't really do that, not because we don't want you to, but because the people who are getting paid by Raytheon have to sign the budget for you to do so.
Right.
Yes, you can issue the order, but they'll never give you the money to bring them back.
Right. Yeah, you would have to find money from other parts of a budget that's already been passed and get it reallocated for returning deployments. Mm-hmm. It's expensive to move troops all over the globe. It costs billions of dollars, and you can't just be like, take it out of that. Like it's too much money to do that.
Mm-hmm. But going back to Bernie Sanders here, reading from Politico, Senator Bernie Sanders will filibuster the override of President Trump's defense bill veto unless the Senate holds up a vote on providing $2,000 direct payments to Americans. McConnell and the Senate want to expedite the override vote, and I understand that. But I'm not going to allow that to happen unless there's a vote, no matter how long it takes, on the $2,000 direct payments. Sanders said in an interview Monday night, "Do you know how many pudding cups you could have if you had $2,000? I like my tapioca myself."
First I thought you were trying to do McConnell, and I was like, wait, no, this is a McConnell.
Well, with McConnell, I just kind of talk out of the side of my mouth and keep my teeth shut there, and that's how McConnell talks there.
He's such a grumpy turtle.
So, as of right now, and I mean, this has been a sticking point for a lot of people and a lot of our mutual friends too. I know Clint, I just listened to Liberty Lockdown on Friday, and he went off on the fact that, yes, Trump was going to go up and he wanted to veto this, or he wanted to wait for this, or he wanted to pocket veto this. And then he just went off and signed it again anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't ask for anything, didn't hold anything up, just signed it.
Nope. Mm-hmm.
Which does make me wonder, what is the point of having a businessman in the presidency?
It was freaking federal apprentice. We've been saying this for weeks.
That's a fair point.
You've been saying this for months. That's all it is. You elected a reality show television star as your president. What did you think you were going to get? You weren't going to get good governance. You were going to get a reality TV show. And that's exactly what we got for 4 years.
Well, and my hope for this was that we were going to get the businessman, the boardroom guy, not the federal apprentice.
Oh, no. No, because it comes with an ego.
Yeah. So
get ready for re-election plans on the 6th. That's what's going to happen. That's my prediction.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in just a second. You want to catch us up with the live chat here before we get into what we're going to be talking or seeing in the next couple days here?
Sure. Got lots of new friends this week. Matthew Hammond is joining us. Nefillium is here. Birkenoff is here. Ron Helton is here. Nailbender's here again.
It's like Nailbender found us over on YouTube.
Yeah, he did. Da Freak, whatever. I don't know. Apparently I'm a pagan goddess. He would like to bring me treasures from across the seas to gain my favor. I don't know. I am accepting treasure. Buried treasure.
Well, if you want to send my wonderful co-host some treasure here, you can. I
You
still have
can
this
do
queued up.
that.
Let it load up
Amazing.
here. You can go over to the front page of Gun Mom Fashion and pick up some of her swag.
There you go.
GunMomFashion.com.
So there was a little bit of discussion. Matthew Hammond thought that they also did the federal withholding money for the helmet laws as well. I don't remember that specifically, but he also asked, how are they not prosecuting Maxwell for tampering with evidence? I mean,
I think they're in the
I think
process
they're
of that.
still gathering evidence. I don't know. I mean, I haven't heard anything about them having set a court date.
By the way, I want to point out to you guys over on Periscope, because I'm seeing a lot of the Periscope icon in here. Everybody else in the chat can see your chat, but I remember correctly, you can't see everybody else's. So these guys would love to discuss with you. The YouTube link is in my description over on Periscope. And then everybody else can see his stuff. Or you can see everybody else's stuff. There we go.
Gotcha. So Nephilium said, we helped bottle a bunch of those the brewer's hand wash. I'm glad they went back on this. Matthew said, what budget? And then my response was, a budget implies that there are limits, which is what I said earlier.
When
I
was the
don't
last time
understand
we had a budget even?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they keep just raising the ceiling or suspending the ceiling completely. So it's like,
Was it
there's
Bill?
no budget.
I think that was the last time because we put the war on a credit card under W.
Oh, yeah. That just never ended,
Mm-hmm.
which is what everyone knew was going to happen. Matthew said the libertarian position would be open the states if you get money from the bill. Yes. I mean, the states should have stayed open anyway, but we're beyond that point now.
Mm-hmm.
Spartan got his $600. He wants the same thing every single month. He is now supporting UBI. It's quite a left turn.
Spartan has always supported UBI.
Okay.
He's been supporting.
Ron says it's ludicrous for the U.S. government to be in debt around $30 trillion and hand out billions in foreign aid while being broke. It's insane. Yes.
With
Yes,
over 5% unemployment.
Right. Matthew said they're monetizing the debt. Yes, they are. Spartan said, pass UBI $200 a month. Let's go. I think you meant to say 2,000. And he also reminded you that the government has your bank account when you opened the account. The Patriot Act made sure of that. Yes. Would not doubt it. And Nailbender says, yes, we have not had a budget since Clinton presidency. Oh, Matthew clarified. His statement was not about Ghislaine Maxwell. It was about the prosecutor in St. Louis. Why was she not prosecuted for tampering with evidence? I don't think she tampered with evidence. She just used their names in fundraising emails.
That is true, but there was tampering with evidence too, because they did have to put that gun back together so it was fireable. Remember, that wasn't fireable
right.
when it was when they were analyzing it. So that could be a possibility of what he was saying with that.
I forgot that. Forgive me. Spartan says he does support a small UBI of $200 a month. I'm not sure what $200 a month would buy you, but okay. Maybe pay your phone bill.
All right. Is that
Moving along. Yeah?
All right, we will catch back up with the live chat here after the next couple topics we go with. I want to see what your thoughts are coming up here for tomorrow and Wednesday. First off, for tomorrow. So, for those of you who have forgotten, because the news cycle moves 1,000 miles a minute, that big Georgia runoff election that they've been talking about since the first election over there, that's tomorrow.
Yep,
now, Georgians have been mailing in their mail-in ballots for the past few weeks. It opened up on December 14th that they could start mailing them in. They have been mailing them in since then, and now the final election day where people come out of their homes to do the voting is tomorrow. How do you think this turns out?
I don't know. If anyone other than the Republicans win, Trump is never going to shut up. Never.
Well, to be fair, he's never
Never.
going to shut up anyway.
No, it's also true, but it's just going to be worse.
What about on the other side? What if they do win?
I have no idea. I honestly don't know. It's probably just going to be more of the same. I mean, what would change? Nothing. It's not going to mean that Trump wins the presidency. It's not going to make, I mean, it's not going to make any difference in that way. If anything, he could say that, well, the Republicans winning proves that, I don't know, more Republicans turned out to vote, and therefore I should have won the state. But they're not finding evidence of that. So, for whatever reason, I don't know. It's not going to be good either way it goes. I would rather have a Biden presidency with a Republican Senate than the other way around, personally. But I don't know if that's going to happen.
Well, as we're looking at this too, and there's been a lot of confusion about what's going to happen out of this, and I honestly can't predict any of this right now. Now, of course, the progressives come out and say, "Well, we're going to win because we win everything, and we're always going to win, and we'll shut everything down if we don't win," and all kinds of stupid shit like that because that's what they do. But the thought has been brought up here, with Lynn Wood saying it, with Sidney Powell saying it, with all of the Trump teams saying it here, that the Republican voters in Georgia are just not going to turn out to vote because Trump is not on the ticket. It's the same reason that the midterms went the way that they claimed that they did, because Trump wasn't on the ticket. If he's not on the ticket, then people aren't going to be excited about this. This is the party of Trump at this point. And I don't think that's a good thing. I mean, it's better than the neocons and the neoliberals being exactly the fucking same, as so they've been since the 80s, but on the other side of it, there's a good chance that John Ossoff and Reverend Radical Warnock are sworn in at the end.
Warnock has so many skeletons in his closet, like that man should never hold office. But those are usually the ones that do. And I'm always baffled as to how that happens, because I'm like, what, how did you vote for this person? How? There was allegations of abuse at summer camps that he ran. There has been allegations of domestic abuse from his recent ex-wife. There was the tape of her outside their home it was body cam footage from police when they showed up to do a check because she called them. I mean, all kinds of things. Like how do you the party of women, or believe all women, and they're going to vote for this guy anyway.
Oh,
how do you do that?
That shit went out the window with, what was her name? I can't think of her name. The Biden accuser, Tara Reid.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That shit was out the window at that point too.
I know, but this is Georgia. Like, I mean, Georgia's still full of good old boys. Like, especially on the police force. Like, they would not let that fly. He should have been arrested for that.
I've got another question off of this here. This is another point that's been brought up over and over as we talk about what's happening in Georgia here, is the fact that the vote counting in D.C. that we'll talk about in just a second is happening the next day. And I know the call has come out for a lot of the mega patriots to go and occupy the streets of Washington, D.C., which means that a lot of them will be leaving Georgia the day before to go and do that. Now, having driven from D.C. to Florida, that's actually not that bad of a drive. If, your good old boy gets up in the morning right away, stands in his long line. I mean, even from the Georgia line, you're in D.C. in 8 hours.
No, Atlanta to D.C. is a 10-hour drive.
Is it?
Yep. So for most of the state of Georgia, especially anything south of Atlanta, it's going to take 11 to 12 hours to drive to D.C.
It only took me 8 to get from D.C. to I suppose though I was doing a straight line, and Atlanta's considerably west too, because I just stayed on 95.
It's also the middle of the week. I mean, I think a lot of people are just now getting back to work. I don't know that they're going to give up a work day to go do that because that's a 2-day trip.
That
You can't do it in one.
Well, yeah, that's the one day up there, and then they go and they do whatever it is that MAGA patriots do in the street until Antifa comes up and starts throwing shit at them. Yeah, that's generally a good week off to go and do something like that there. But you don't think that's going to take an effect on how the vote turnout goes in Georgia then?
No, I don't think so. I mean, once the votes are cast, because they're still using the electronic voting system, all that information is stored. So it doesn't matter if they push the button to count the day of or the day after. I don't know why they wouldn't just let it tally as it goes, but whatever. I don't know how those systems are set up.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We don't have a touchscreen or anything here in Wisconsin. I've always used a paper ballot.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't know. We'll see. Like, I know that people are going to be watching it very, very closely, and they're going to be watching the actual counting of the votes very, very closely and making sure that they are crossing all their T's and dotting their I's, and no funny business, no random boxes of votes showing up, none of that stuff.
do you think they checked all the water mains?
I think that they're going to have, I don't know. It's just going to be messy. It's just going to be messy, just like Election Day was.
Yeah,
And we may not have a total for a few days.
or a few weeks.
I don't think it'll be a few weeks. I think a few days. I mean, because they've already conducted lots of audits in Georgia, so they've already checked and rechecked and then checked again, all their systems.
And we will talk about the phone call. Listened to that whole fucking phone call, by the way.
I have not yet. I think I will find it very painful.
I have the 4-minute heavily edited clip that the Washington Post, I've got in the video section that we can listen to later. But yeah, I sat down as I was doing show notes and getting all the video and audio loaded in and hanging up my laundry. I sat down and listened to the whole hour thing. It's about as painful as you would think.
Okay.
But moving along with that and talking about now DC, because we talked about what's going to happen there. Now, millions of MAGA patriots are expected to descend on Washington, D.C. to let the vote counters know how they feel about how the election was run, I believe is what they're trying to do. I don't know what they intend to do with this. I have no idea. But they do intend to come back and occupy. Now, one of the big pieces of news that came out of this here came out of the Hill. A DC hotel that's usually frequented by the Proud Boys is actually going to be closed on those days. They're going to honor their commitments to the people that are staying in the hotel long term, like people who are, taking up residence in there if they're doing out of town business or something like that. But registrations for a night or two on the 4th to the 6th have been turned away. The people who had their registrations have been refunded. And they're going to be closed. Their bar is going to be closed. Their restaurants are going to be closed. And the only people that will be there are the people who are essentially living there.
Okay.
Yeah, the Hotel
They're a
Harrington.
private business. They have the right to refuse service.
The Hotel Harrington released a statement on Monday saying the hotel will shut down between Monday, January 4th and Wednesday, January 6th, as Trump supporters plan to protest that Wednesday when Congress is scheduled to certify the election results. So what do you think is going to happen when this all comes to pass?
I think Trump is going to announce his re-election campaign. And if he's not running for re-election, one of his children will be running for re-election. But there will be a Trump on the ticket in 2024. That's my prediction.
What do you think is going to happen in the streets, though?
Chaos.
Well, that's been one of the things we've
Glad
seen.
I'm not there. I'm glad I don't live there.
Yeah, we're glad our friend of the channel, Stephen Ignoramus, got out too. I believe he is closing this week on his house in location undisclosed. But yes, he is far away from DC. So.
I mean, I have other friends that live there, but it's too expensive and too much of this funny business happens. I have no desire to live there.
It is a bitch to find a place to park there if you've got a larger vehicle too, by the way.
Yes, I have noticed that. I've visited a couple of times, but I mean, it's neat, but yeah, it's one of those cities where I love visiting, but I would never live there. New York, I'm the same way with New York too. I would never live in New York.
Those streets are not designed for a pickup truck.
No, definitely not.
Um, but yeah, it's just like anything else that we've seen though. When the mega crowd goes in there, it's going to be peaceful probably throughout the day, and then once the sun goes down, all
I think
hell's
that
going to break
happens with
loose.
protests, period. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty true, like across the board. I don't think it has to do with left or right. I think everybody gets a little bit more rowdy after the sun goes down. People go to bars, they drink, and then they go back out in the street, and now they're all, their inhibitions are lowered, and they might be all worked up, and just things happen.
One of the interesting questions that I've had about this is how big do you think the turnout is going to be? And this comes on the fact that we talk about the inauguration debacle that we've been hearing for the last 4 fucking years.
He still hasn't let that go.
He still hasn't let that go. And then the Million MAGA March, which turned out to be, well, I've seen estimates upwards of 500,000 for people. So that at least is respectable here. But they're talking about 50 million people. And I don't think they're going to pull that many people from across
No,
this country.
no, I
You're,
doubt it.
you're
You
not
can't
going to go
even
to
get
D.C.
50
from
million people
Montana.
in DC. You can't get 50 million people in DC. They wouldn't fit.
Yeah, it's very
There
true.
isn't enough space. There's literally not enough space in DC for that many people.
Well, that's what they've been talking about, though, is getting 50 million. But yeah, like I said, you're not going to get a patriot from Montana to D.C. for
Mm-mm.
this.
No, they don't care enough. They have other things going on. They have lives.
I
They're
think
not
they
going to do
care
it.
enough. I do think they care enough.
They don't care enough to take 2 to 3 days off
Yeah,
from whatever
it's the
they're
logistics
doing.
of it.
Yeah, the logistics don't map out for that kind of thing.
It's 12 hours from here. I know. I've driven it. So I think, yeah, Wisconsin would probably be about the furthest that somebody would come from in order to go and do this.
Yeah,
Anything west
maybe.
of the Mississippi, I think you're starting to get into that. It's too far. We can't do that territory.
Mm-mm, no.
I wouldn't be surprised to see 1 million people show up.
I wouldn't be surprised if there will be gatherings and protests outside other Capitol buildings in other states,
Mm-hmm.
like in solidarity. That would not surprise me at all. But you're not getting 50 million people. You're not even getting 25 million people into DC. It's just not going to happen.
Well, we will see, and I'm sure that the news will be up there, and I'm sure that we will have Antifa fight videos coming up next week for all of this here,
We'll
because
see.
that's what's going to happen here. The interesting thing happened in polling this week. So Gallup apparently puts on a, and this is the first time hearing about this. Gallup apparently puts out a poll every year about the most admired man and woman of each year. And
Mhm.
it's been 12 years Barack Obama has been the most admired man in the country. Well, this year, Donald Trump broke that record. According to The Hill, let me get the article up here. According to the article, come on, think faster. 18% of the survey's respondents named Trump as their most admired man, and compared to 15% who named Obama and 6% who named President elect Joe Biden. Now, supporters of Biden will come out and say that the combination of Obama and Joe Biden together means that they still beat Trump, but yeah, Trump broke Obama's winning streak off of this year and still managed to not get elected. Michelle Obama continues to be the most admired woman of the year.
Not surprised. People love her.
Do you do the conspiracy theory thing about her?
No, I
No.
think it's stupid.
You know which one I'm talking about, right?
She.
You
And I
okay?
fixed my phone. Yeah. I have to fix everything now. Look what happened. I got too excited.
You were saying?
She's a man.
She is a...
No.
And once once again, a man can come out and do a woman's job better, apparently.
Yeah, apparently.
Rounding out the top 10 were Tesla CEO Elon Musk, Senator Bernie Sanders, Bill Gates, LeBron James, and the Dalai Lama, who all received 1%. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people weren't too happy about this one. So, my next question off of this here is, what do you know about the fact that all of these various lawmakers have been coming up and saying that they're going to fight against the election results coming up on Wednesday?
No, they're not.
You don't
No,
think?
they're not. No. No. There is a disconnect between the establishment and the base. Just because the base wants the establishment to do it doesn't mean that the establishment is interested.
Well, there have been a lot of names that have come up off of this one here. Now, starting late last week, it was just Josh Hawley who was signed on and said that he was going to protest the results of the election. He was going to get his debate. Now it appears that we've got some other names here. Reading from NBC Connecticut, more GOP lawmakers enlist Trump in Trump effort to undo the Biden win. It appears the notable names off of this are going to be Ted Cruz, Tommy Tuberville. Who else is here? Ron Johnson, my senator here in Wisconsin. James Lankford, Steve Daines, John Kennedy, Marsha Blackburn. A pretty good amount of people over on the House side, too, are going to be doing this. So there's actually going to be a number of people that are going up to do this. Now, is this going to change anything? Probably not. Even combined with the protests going on outside, I don't think that this changes anything except for the fact that it puts a gigantic asterisk next to Joe Biden's name in the history books because he wasn't handed a mandate to govern. In fact, he was protested all the way in. And well, he's not going to be alive to see the history books because I don't think he's going to make it through a term of office. But what's your take on this going on here?
I mean, McConnell and the Senate Majority Whip have already warned Hawley that this is not going to go the way that he thinks it's going to go. Ultimately, the establishment is going to prevail.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to get what they want, and what they want is to move along. They want to move along, status quo.
Move along home. So, I mean, with that, we're seeing, I don't know, I'd like to see the debate, and yeah, I mean, this is going to happen. I've accepted this. I've told my followers, the people who watch the morning show, to just get your affairs in order. Make sure that you're comfortable in your job, that you don't have to leave at some point because the jobs are probably not going to be there under an asterisk Beijing Biden presidency that happened completely above board, wink, wink, honk, honk. But something interesting. Go ahead.
It's just, so all of the lawsuits have been dismissed at this point, mm-hmm. right? We're not waiting on any outstanding lawsuits. And if there are no more legal challenges that have been filed, that have been deemed credible by a judge, then I don't know why that this plan will succeed. Like, in what world? Like, what evidence do they have? Everything's been dismissed.
Well, some of this has been dismissed without hearing the evidence that was there, too. They just looked at it and threw it out. I do believe that there's something there. It's just the courts won't come up and hear it, and a lot of this documentation is sealed. I would love to sit back and read what it is that they think that they have, and I think it should be entered in. But that being said, if it doesn't get heard...
If you can't get a judge to look at it, then there's nothing credible or proven that you can base this on except for a gut feeling. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get very far on that. You're just not. And Trump has lost all of his power at this point to primary anybody. I mean, we will see how much residual power he retains in the midterms. If he starts endorsing candidates, if he starts raising money for candidates, if he tries to primary candidates that didn't support his, I actually won the election bid, all of that kind of stuff. I mean, It'd be really interesting to see if he turned against McConnell.
I think he already has.
Very interesting to see if that happened. And it would be very interesting to see what would happen if he dumped money into a race in Kentucky to try to beat McConnell.
Yeah, I'm actually interested in seeing that too, because, I mean,
But at this point, the establishment is not interested because they're just, I've said this before, they don't care. They don't have to care because their careers outlast presidents all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Obama was 8 years. McConnell was in office, still in office now. He's going to be in office after Biden's done. Like, it doesn't matter to them. They only show loyalty while the president is sitting in office. Mm-hmm. As soon as the president no longer has the power to primary them or raise money for them, they don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
They have no reason to.
I mean, what's Nancy been in there for? She's been in there since the inception of the country, hasn't she?
Just about.
So we will.
Anyways.
Yeah, we'll see what happens off of this here. But one of the interesting things that came out of this week was right in the beginning when Josh Hawley decided that he was going to be the one that was going to come up and object. So Josh Hawley tweeted out, millions of voters concerned about election integrity deserve to be heard. I will object on January 6th on their behalf. And from the official account of Walmart, tweets back in reply, go ahead, get your 2-hour debate, #SoreLoser. Which prompted the trend of boycott Walmart to trend over on Twitter, fueled by millions and millions of MAGA people who I'm pretty sure at this point, once they've got their stimulus check, have forgiven Walmart and gone in and started spending money there again.
They don't care. They don't. People are so lax on their convictions. It's sickening. It really is. People have no backbone now. None. I mean, I avoid Walmart, but if I need something and that's the store that's open and it's right there, I'll go in and get it.
I don't.
It's not the place where I go get my groceries every week. I go to Kroger for that, but like Amazon, I haven't found another company that can give me all of the things that Amazon can give me in 2 days and cheaper than most other places.
Right. And I understand that. And I mean, I stopped going to Walmart just based on the fact that they soapboxed about the 223 ammo. I never bought ammo at Walmart, just the soapbox. I go to Target. I guarantee you that Target disagrees with me politically.
Oh, yeah.
But they don't tell me about it. So I'll spend my money there. Walmart comes out and tells me that they disagree with me politically and wonder why I don't spend money there.
Yeah, well, Target's never sold guns, and I don't think they ever will.
That's very true. But they're not on the
there's
soapbox.
Also, there's also the precedent. Like, they've never sold that, so why would they start?
Going back to this,
they need to add that to their business model.
Going back to this Walmart thing, though, I mean, I told people to stop shopping at Walmart a year ago for that very reason.
They're a shitty company.
They are.
I mean, they treat people badly. They don't pay you enough. And when you're working, I mean, any retail job I've ever had, which I have had a couple, you don't get to negotiate your pay, like nothing. They're always just like, here's our pay scale. This is what we use. There's no discussing it with them. There's no, well, I really think I'm worth $1 more an hour than that. They'd be like, oh, next. They don't care. They don't need to care.
Right. And that's one of the things here. So what happened with us apparently, and this is what the allegation is that the social media director for Walmart meant to tweet this out from his personal account and didn't realize he was signed into the Walmart account. I find that a little fishy, and I don't believe it per se, but that's what the story is going on with that.
It happens. It accidentally happened to me one time when I was still doing Joe's social media. I was accidentally still logged in as her, and I made a comment. It wasn't snarky or anything, but it was just kind of a very informal comment to Justin Amash under one of his tweets. And I immediately realized it when it posted, and I was like, oh crap. And so I just deleted my own account and posted it. It was nothing like that at all. It wasn't even bad, but it was just like, oh, she would never say this. So it would look very out of place for people to see that. And obviously I wasn't going to do that. So I was not going to leave it up. So I fixed it. But saying something like that, like that's a pretty big no-no.
Especially coming from one like Walmart,
Yeah.
where they make their bread and butter off. I'm sorry to say this and insult the people, some of who are going to be my audience, but they make their bread and butter off Make a Patriots.
Oh yeah. Because they're in every single town across the United States. Every small town has a Walmart, a Walmart neighborhood market, something. They have something. It might be the only grocery store in town, aside from like the local mom and pop grocery store. It might be the only corporate grocery store in that town.
Yeah, there's one right down in Janesville, and it's probably one of the nicer Walmarts in the area, but I won't go there. I want to spend just a little bit of time on this news story that kind of came in and disappeared almost immediately as soon as it was talked about here. And this is coming back up out of Pennsylvania. So, according to WJAC TV, the DOS has responded to Republicans' lawmakers' claims of election numbers discrepancy. And once again, I don't think this is going to go anywhere, but this is one of those things where the evidence is put out there and then the court just kind of turns it away and says, we don't want to hear it. Fuck that. Get this out of our courtroom. So, to read out of this local NBC affiliate, a group of Republican lawmakers say they performed an extensive analysis of Election Day data and they found troubling discrepancies. According to State Rep. Frank Ryan, 17 lawmakers sponsored and participated in the analysis. Ryan, who's a CPA, says they discovered discrepancies between the numbers of total votes counted and the total number of voters who voted in the 2020 general election, which is making them question how the results could have been certified by Governor Tom Wolf and Secretary of the Commonwealth Kathy Boockvar, and I'm pretty sure I can answer that question. Ryan says they found that 6,962,607 total ballots were reported as being cast, while the DOS Sure System records indicated that only 6,760,230 total voters actually voted. So just a touch over 200,000 more ballots than voters were recorded off of this here, and that's a pretty good sized number.
Yeah, it is. See, that I feel is credible. That is something worth looking into. None of this like he said, she said stuff that is going on in other states. I do think this should be looked into. It's interesting that this has not. I think people are just tired of hearing about it.
Yeah.
The news cycle is so fast now that if this had come out 3 weeks ago, it would have been everywhere.
It probably would appear. And this story it did disappear almost immediately. This was from Tuesday morning. I read this on Contemporary, and I never heard a word about it again. Just nothing off of this. And I want to know why. Because I don't want to see this happen the next time.
Right. Yep.
I've teased it a couple times throughout the show here. We've got the audio. The Washington Post put out an article this week talking about the fact that Trump had pressured Brad Raffensperger to find him 11,000 votes in the state. The total call was an hour and 6 minutes long, and right before the show, I listened to the entire hour and 6 minutes. The Washington Post put out a 4-minute, heavily edited clip. We'll listen to a part of it here, just to kind of get the gist of what was going on here. But if you have not listened to the entire call, the link to the Discord is in the description below. Come and hang out with us. It is in the general tab. The CNN, I found it on YouTube, but the CNN article that contains the full hour call is in there. I recommend you go and check it out here. But let's have a listen to some of the selective editing that the Washington Post had to do for this.
We have won this election in Georgia based on all of this. And there's nothing wrong with saying that, Brad. You know, I mean, having a correct, the people of Georgia are angry. And these numbers are going to be repeated on Monday night, along with others that we're going to have by that time, which are much more substantial even. And the people of Georgia are angry. The people of the country are angry. And there's nothing wrong with saying that, that you've recalculated.
Well, Mr. President, the challenge that you have is the data you have is wrong.
Now, do you think it's possible that they shredded ballots in Fulton County? Because that's what the rumor is. And also that Dominion took out machines. That Dominion is really moving fast to get rid of their machinery. Do you know anything about that? Because that's illegal.
This is Ryan, Germany. No, Dominion has not moved any machinery out of Fulton County. We're having.
Well, but have they moved? Have they moved the inner parts of the machines and replaced them with other parts?
No.
You sure, Ryan?
I'm sure.
You should want to have an accurate election. And you're a Republican.
We believe that we do have an accurate election.
No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't have. Not even close. You're off by hundreds of thousands of votes.
And I mean, you could see the flashing of light there where they're coming in and they're pushing through different scenes here. But where you hear the silence, and this is coming from the fact that, yes, I did listen to this entire call in full context, they are leaving a lot of stuff out between even some of these sentences with this. This was very deceptively edited, and this is coming from the same newspaper that bitches, whines, and complains when Project Veritas does the same thing.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear the whole call. I don't know if I could stand to make it through it, but yeah, it sounds really bad if you only listen to the 4 minutes, but you have a 60-minute call or an hour-long call, whatever, and you have to cut it down to 4 minutes. I mean, it's not going to be an accurate representation of the entire phone call. But some of those things that he's saying, even standalone sentences, that's not okay.
Well, the guy, I mean, he's got the boardroom attitude off of this, and we've been hearing the same thing off of this. But yes, this is very deceptively. He didn't do himself any favors in the full call. I can tell you that.
No, of course he doesn't, because he's a bully. He loves bullying people to get what he wants. That's how he's always gotten everything that he wants in business.
He wasn't bullying that much in the full call, though. It was more of a begging, like, "Come on, we got to do this. You got to find this." I almost found an air of desperation in the full call.
Of course it's desperation. He's running out of time. He has a couple of days. That's it. But then he turned around and attacked this person on Twitter, of course, as he does. And the Secretary of State specifically said, we are going to record this call, but I do not want it released unless Trump threatens me or unless Trump drastically mischaracterizes what we talked about. He attacked him the next day. Phone call audio came out. Like, he did exactly what he said he was going to do. He recorded the call, but was not intending to use it for any purpose. It was just insurance. And then he had to use it because Trump can't keep his mouth shut.
Which, to cite the actual tweet, which of course I put right up on the screen because I anticipated you were going to bring this up here. The actual tweet that he put out says, "I spoke to Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger yesterday about Fulton County and voter fraud in Georgia. He was unwilling or unable to answer questions such as ballots under the table scam, ballot destruction, out-of-state voters, dead voters, and more. He has no clue."
Yeah, so he said he's clueless, and he mischaracterized what they just talked about.
And by the way, in case you didn't know, this claim about election fraud is disputed.
We must let you know that. All right, let's move on.
All right. I want to get into this Nashville thing, but we're switching topics here. Let's check up with the live chats here, see what they have to say about this election stuff here, and then we'll talk a bit about Nashville, because I know you're probably going to want to go on a little bit longer about this. I know the Commie Coup kind of prevented you from last week, so you're probably going to have a little bit more to say about this than even Robert did last week, so let's see what they're saying.
Trying to find where we stopped at. Ron says they will go to D.C., say the Pledge of Allegiance, salute the flag, play the anthem, and then go home, accomplishing absolutely nothing.
just like they did
There will
last
not
time.
be a 2024 election, maybe for the U.S. remnant. Nailbender says he knows people from Michigan going to D.C.
Well, yeah, I mean that's not a terrible distance coming out of Michigan either.
No. No, but like you said, anything past the Mississippi is going to be difficult to do. It's just too far away. Matthew Hammond says he heard most flights to DC are sold out. About 10 million. There's some like business as usual stuff though, like commuter flights and things like that. I can't imagine that all 10 million are people going just for that. And they're laughing at me for dropping my camera. I like the camera on my phone better than my laptop, which is why my camera looks a lot better this week.
I'm gonna see if I can get. I had one more piece of video that I wanted to put in, and I completely forgot to get it into the play screen. I'm gonna see if I can get it in for this, not this next segment, but the one afterwards. So, if you can read from them for just a little bit here, I'm gonna see if I can get that fixed. On-air production.
Matthew says, I saw the Supreme Court is looking into Wisconsin's constitutional challenge.
I didn't see that, so that's a new one to me.
Massey challenge McConnell in a Senate primary. I would love that. I would so support that. If I could have Rand Paul and Thomas Massey in Kentucky, I might move there.
That's not that
I
far
might
from me.
move there.
That's not that far from you either, is it?
No, it's not. I could be there in 2 hours. Oh, J. Edgar's used tampon is upset that I had not read his name earlier.
I know who that is too, by the way.
Okay, I don't know who that is.
It's Neff.
I told him I would only do it. I said, where's my treasure?
Where is your treasure indeed?
Yeah. Come on. Ron says it can't be disputed because the social media and lamestream media are helping run out the clock. There was a fraud and stolen election. No, I mean, we're coming up on Inauguration Day. That's what's running out the clock. It's not social media. It's just, this is when Inauguration Day happens.
I did it.
And that's it. We're caught up.
Good timing then here. So, we got to talk a little bit about Nashville here because there was some other stuff that came up this past week here to catch everybody
back. I have not been keeping up on it either, which is not good.
To catch everybody back up, there's we saw the bombing that came in here. There are people that think that this was actually a missile strike. And you were
I did see that, and I did see that video.
You were full on tinfoil about this on Christmas Day when all of this happened.
I was not full on tinfoil. But I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it. I was just sitting in the living room like, what are you kidding me right now? Nashville's had a rough year, man.
Yeah, you were probably having the same reaction that I had when I saw the car dealer that was a half a mile from where I lived on fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just like, I can't believe this. I've been there. Like, I've walked on that street. I've, gone to eat down there. And it's right off of Broadway. It's not hard to get to. It's a very popular area. But yeah, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe that it had happened.
Well, all my family down there is safe. As I've talked to you off mic before, I've got family that lives in the Nashville area. Fortunately, my cousin that lives down in the city itself doesn't live anywhere close to that. And then her mom and dad are out in Mount Juliet, so far enough away from everything.
Yeah.
But some of the things that have popped up off of this here, I'm going to start with this copycat one that came up here. Reading from Fox 17 out of Nashville, box truck playing audio similar to Nashville bombing had no connection to the blast. So apparently a box truck playing audio similar to that used in the Nashville explosion has no connection to the Christmas Day blast, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation Director David Rausch said on Monday. Rauch said while TBI wasn't involved in the investigation on Sunday, based on conversations he's had, there's no connection other than the individual taking advantage of the situation. The driver, 33-year-old James Turgeon, was arrested after the truck shut down Highway 231 south in Lebanon, near Cedars of Lebanon, a Tennessee state park, Sunday afternoon. So apparently,
my horse is stabled like right down the road from Cedars. So it was right there. Crazy.
But apparently there was no connection. Do you have the article open? Do you recognize the road?
Yeah. I recognize the road.
Nice. I hate roads.
I have to take that one to go there every time.
Nice. So this guy's got arrested. The Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives assisted the THP at the scene. And as I always say, that really shouldn't be a federal agency. That should be a convenience store.
Yes, absolutely.
What's your take on that particular one?
Particular one what?
This particular incident.
In Tennessee?
Yeah, the dude doing the similar thing.
I think he was just trying to scare people. I don't know. I mean, he's obviously got issues, like you can just see just looking at him. But what was the purpose of that? Like the only thing it did was make people afraid.
That did. The other side of this, though, is we get a little bit more depth out of this one, and I think this is going to be about the last time we're hearing about this. I think this is going to get memory hold about as fast as the Las Vegas shooter. But I guess they went out and talked to the girlfriend of the Nashville bomber, which, if this guy was really that fucked up, why was she dating him? I think
know. She was his ex. I don't think they were currently dating.
But I read this article on Contemporary. I heard a couple other people talking about this, and I have more questions after listening and reading this than I had to start with. So, according to CNN, the woman who said she was the girlfriend of the man who set off the Christmas Day explosion in Nashville told police last year that he was making bombs in his recreational vehicle, according to a statement and documents the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department provided to CNN. On August 21st, 2019, police received a call from an attorney representing Pamela Perry. The woman who said she was the girlfriend of the bomber, Anthony Warner, the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department, said Tuesday. Her attorney, Raymond Throckmorton, said she made suicidal threats to him via telephone. So, I don't know why the lawyer was calling the police. I don't know why she was reaching out to the lawyer about any of this.
I don't know, but the lawyer specifically told them, yes, he talks about the military and bomb making, and he knows what he's doing and is capable of making a bomb. If a lawyer is telling you that a man is capable of making a bomb and you don't get a search warrant and check, there's a problem. You're not doing your job.
There's a lot of problem here.
This is one of the few things that I think the police should be doing. Like, if someone says someone's making a bomb, you look into it.
Neff threw us a diamond, by the way.
I think she probably wanted the lawyer to do the calling because it sounds like she's got some other issues, and she probably figured that the lawyer was more credible to police than she would be. So I could see that.
Neff threw us a diamond over on DLive, by the way.
Oh.
Under his weird DLive name that I'm not going to say out loud.
Yay, treasure!
Yay, treasure. Yeah, I've read through this article 3 times. I have more questions after this.
Right. Yeah. It's very weird. The whole thing is weird. It's weird that they're not talking about it. It's weird that they solved it in 48 hours. It's weird that the mayor acted the way that he did on the day of. Like, the whole thing is just weird. It's like, it feels like Twilight Zone shit.
The mayor one, I'm not familiar with the mayor one. What do you know about that I don't know?
He was like laughing. They interviewed him on scene the day that it happened, and he was just kind of like, haha. What? You have to go look at it. It's nuts. I think I retweeted it, and I was just like, this man needs to be fired. Like, what what has he been doing? Maybe he's one of those people that laughs when he gets uncomfortable, but it was just very odd to me.
Well, nothing about the thing that's made the least sense about this to me is first off the gunshots, because I still don't know what was going on with that, and the fact that the warning to get away from the RV was a recording. I mean, if this is a dude that was nuts, and I mean it wasn't even recorded, it seems like it was almost auto generated or computer generated. If this dude was nuts and he was going off, he'd be, I guess in my eyes, he'd be out leaning out the window of the RV screaming his fucking lungs out. Say, get the hell away from this, thing's gonna blow. He wouldn't have a computer go off and do this.
I don't know. It's just very strange. It's weird. The whole thing is freaking weird.
I've tinfoiled on this one the fact that he got shot in the RV and he was being the fall guy from this, which goes along with your 48-hour thing.
What 48-hour thing?
That they solved this in 48 hours.
Oh, yeah. They solved it in 48 hours. It's my impression that you cannot get a DNA match in 48 hours unless someone's already in the system.
Mm-hmm.
So how did they figure out that fast who this person was, especially if it didn't have a prior record? And what database were they running it through?
I have no idea.
But if you're not in the system and they can find you in 48 hours, there's a system.
All right. Unless you have more off this one here. I mean, I have more questions off of this, but I don't think we're going to get the answers off of this one tonight here.
No, it's just...
We are running up on the clock here, and I got a couple other things that I want to get to specifically off of this one. I want to talk a bit about Oregon here, because there were dueling protests going on in Oregon this past weekend. But a video was shared that I couldn't ignore. Let's get this one back up here. I'm probably going to wind up skipping the Biden video that I just took all the time to put back in. Come on. Oh, I can't wait till we get the new computer, because this one is slow. So this is a scene out of Oregon after police came in to try to break up the anti-lockdown protests at the Capitol, and we'll read about it in just a sec. But let's see what they were saying up here. No. There it is.
Thanks for walking on us today. Yeah, I'm spending for you all fucking summer. Fuck you. Fuck everybody. Fuck you. Been there for you all fucking year. Only one punishment for treason. Thanks for walking on us.
So this was a group of people, anti-lockdown protesters, trampling on their thin blue line flags, because now they're turning against the police. And our resident progressive over on the contemporary side, Flancourt, pointed out, well, maybe we should just defund the police then. I take policing just a little bit differently, mainly because I'm from a very, very rural area. So the police that have had jurisdiction where I lived have always been elected. But I do understand some of the fact that, yes, these people are following orders that are coming down from, well, here, not Ted Wheeler's office, because this is in Salem, but in Kate Brown's office, definitely. To go on with this and talk about what they're doing here from the Statesman Journal out of Oregon. Multiple people arrested in downtown Salem protests. So, police declared an unlawful assembly among the protesters Friday afternoon in downtown Salem and used non-lethal munitions, including flashbangs, to disperse the crowd separating opposing groups of protesters. So there was an Antifa protest going on in a park and an anti-lockdown protest going down on the city building in Salem. They were getting ready to come together, and I've read this article a couple times. From what I understand from this, the police turned and went to start arresting the anti-lockdown protesters and let the Antifa guys go free. And that's where we start getting people stomping on the flag. Have you seen anything off of this one?
Yeah, I have. but only a little bit. Only the video.
I know Clinton posted up the video and he retweeted that out and pointed out the fact that now that the MAGA people are stomping on the thin blue line flag, and honestly, every time one of them gets arrested, they turn against the police, and that's a time where we sit back and look. And this is the time. I know people have talked about infiltration of the GOP and how it doesn't work, in spite of the fact that we did have Justin Amash and Thomas Massey and Rand Paul and Ron Paul. There is an infiltration effort there, but right now the left party in this country, they're not a liberal party, they're not a Democratic party by any stretch of the imagination. They are going to go full on authoritarian, as evidenced by the fact that they have just elected the man who wrote the 1994 crime bill and the woman who used it for cheap California labor to be in the executive branch. If there's any time for the right party to be infiltrated, now is the time. I don't know if you agree with me on that, but...
No, I mean, it's right for the taking. Like, both of the parties are going to fracture. And on the Democratic side, it's going to be more of a fracture between the moderates and the socialists. But on the right, it's going to be more of a fracture between the establishment and the base. Which means the base might walk away and say, screw you, you're not giving us what you want. We're going to make a new party. We're going to make a new Republican Party.
Well, I know there's been talk about making like the MAGA Party, the Patriot Party is what they're trying to call it here, and they're trying to walk away from the GOP right now. And they're just as authoritarian as ever. They want they want their religious figure to be on the top. MAGA is a religion at this point.
It's a cult. Cult 45. Cults of personality are dangerous.
You know what the worst part of this whole thing out of Portland is too? Not just the fact that they're stomping on the flag and they're turning their back on all of this here, but Ted Wheeler is currently begging for Antifa to stop burning shit down. They staged a protest on New Year's Eve, and he's out there because he thought that once they got Joe Biden elected, these guys were just going to go back into the basement, into their mom's basement with their Tendy vendor. And everything was all going to be good. And nope, you've let the genie out of the bottle. They don't want Biden as a president.
Mm-hmm.
They don't necessarily want anarchy either, but they want their people, and they will fight whatever it takes to get that off of this. And yeah, it's going to turn out well. If I'm wrong, tell me.
No, I don't think you're wrong.
Do you think these people can be... The people that are stomping in the video that I showed, do you think that they are ready to... You know, I hate to be a Jehovah's Witness about this, but hey, have you heard the good news? Liberty saves.
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely an opportunity for that. We'll just have to see how, I don't know, how things shake out over the next few weeks. Everything is so variable right now.
Spartan brought up a good point off of this here. He says that the cops are oath breakers, and that's something that Tim Pool's been saying a lot through all of this too, is the fact that the cops that are imprisoning people for coming out and peacefully protesting are oath breakers. And that's kind of where, because I got into a conversation with my friend Seawall last night talking about this too, because, and in another video I'm going to show in just a second here, we've got the police that are just going outside of their bounds, but they're police, like state police, that are beholden to the state government, and city police that are hired by the executive branch. Whereas I'm from rural Wisconsin. We didn't have a police department in the little town I grew up in. The sheriff's department covered the area. What's the difference between a chief of police and a sheriff?
Sheriffs are elected.
There you go. So they're beholden to us.
The chiefs of police are only beholden to the mayor.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's how it usually works.
So now you're seeing why I maybe see policing just a little bit differently than a lot of these inner city people do.
Right. Mm-hmm. Because their departments are structured differently.
And all I knew until I was 18 was a sheriff's department. And speaking of that, and we'll go into a little bit of corona terrorism because of that. Where's the video that I have for that one here? So this video was making the rounds on Twitter out of Pennsylvania. Apparently a state trooper followed a man home from the grocery store because he wasn't wearing a mask. Let's see what that sounded like.
I followed.
You were followed.
Why was my tag run?
Because we wanted to...
Did I break the law?
No, sir.
Then why are you here?
We want to make sure there was nothing done against you, as well as what was done in the store with the mask. That's all.
I want to know why my tag was run.
Because we want to make sure...
Did I break the law?
We're trying to figure that out.
Did I break the law? You know I didn't break the law, because the other cop said I didn't. So you're just harassing me. You chose to harass me. The other cop walked up to me and said, you did nothing wrong, there's no problem.
Sure.
But you chose to run my tag.
I want to get your side of the story, what happened.
I told you my side of the story there, but you chose to run my tag.
Okay. I just want to give you the benefit of the doubt because you said you had a medical exemption.
It doesn't matter what I have. It's not a law that people are required to wear a mask. Yes or no?
Yes, it is.
It's a law?
Yes.
It's a law. You're telling me it's a law?
The governor has mandated masks.
You're telling me it's a law. I got it recorded. You said it was a law. I followed.
That makes me really heated.
Do tell.
Like really, really heated.
I want to know why. I'm listening.
For all of the reasons that the person he followed was saying. It's not a law. It's a mandate. It's not a law. It did not go through the legislature. It was not voted on. It was not agreed upon by any of the representatives in the state. It was a mandate given by the governor. And many of these departments are not enforcing them at all. He did not need to run his plate. He did not need to run his plate to get his side of the story. He could have just asked him. He didn't need any information from that man at all. He didn't need to know his name. He didn't need to know where he lived. He didn't even need to know his license plate number. He could have just said, hey, this person in the store complained. What is your side of the story? Medical exemption. That's it. That's all you need to hear. That's it. And even if he did run his plate, there is no way for him to tell that he has a medical exemption in his file. That would not be there.
And then, of course, as you said, the legislation. That actually sparked an interesting conversation when I retweeted this and commented on it.
And HIPAA. He didn't even need to tell the cop he had anything. He could have just said, I don't have to share any information with you because HIPAA says I don't have to. I'm not required to give an officer my medical information. Fuck that. Sorry, this is me angry now.
Well, and I was very confused by this, and this kind of went back into the conversation that I was having about the sheriff's department here, because apparently in Pennsylvania, some of the rural areas that don't have a municipal, to me, this should have had a municipal police officer going through this, but this is coming from the Wisconsin side of things, of me too, because the way our police departments are structured. Now, apparently in Pennsylvania, a state patrol will come in and fill in where there is no municipal police department. Where I live, the sheriff's department does that. That was one of the things that confused me about this. But apparently, according to Pennsylvania's state charter, the legislature did abdicate some of the legislative power to the governor as point of a mandate. So it is, according to their charter, technically a law. But that's just laziness from the legislature, too. If they would abdicate that, they shouldn't be abdicating anything off of this.
Right.
So I don't know what the truth is off this. I don't live in Pennsylvania. I've never lived in Pennsylvania. I've only been in there a few times. So I don't know. But yes, there is so much going wrong with this. Coming up out of my state, have you heard about the failed vaccines?
No, I have not. Tell me all about it.
So this is out of Wisconsin State Journal. Last week, a worker at one of the Aurora Health facilities just outside of Milwaukee apparently accidentally left 500 doses of the vaccine out of refrigeration. Now it turns out that it might have been deliberate here. The State Journal reports Wisconsin health system worker deliberately spoiled 500 doses of COVID-19 vaccine. A Wisconsin health system said Wednesday that 500 doses of COVID-19 vaccine that had to be discarded after they were left unrefrigerated now appear to have been deliberately spoiled by an employee. Aurora Medical Center first reported on the spoiled doses on Saturday and said that they'd been accidentally left out overnight by an employee at Aurora Medical Center. This was last Saturday, so Robert and I talked about this last week already, and now it appears that it was deliberate. And going on with this, the employee has now come out and said that he was hoping that people would get the spoiled versions of the vaccine for whatever reason. I do not know,
Right.
but this is...
It sounds like an attempt to undermine the efficacy of the vaccine.
Possibly. And I mean, I know that there are bad side effects that come with the vaccine, because I know people that have had it.
Hmm.
One of my friends, she's an RN down in Chicagoland, went out and got the vaccine and had to miss work for 2 days because of it. Because the side effects were so... She had, what was it, 102 fever?
Oh, wow. That's not good.
The next day, which I don't understand why she even got it anyway. She's already had the commie coof. But
Same.
she went out and got it and had the big side effects that came off of it. And now this is... Now, I don't know if the spoiled vaccine would render ineffective or would have nastier side effects because you're essentially poisoning a person. I don't know if which is the case because I'm not a medical professional, but
And that's illegal.
that's bioterrorism. Yeah, that is illegal.
Right. We don't do that here.
Especially if it's what you said, where you're trying to undermine the efficacy of the vaccine here. That's terrorism.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That is bad.
That you've taken something harmless and turned it into a bioweapon.
Mm-hmm.
And I only say harmless because of those 500 doses, you don't know if they're going to be given to someone who will have side effects or who will not have side effects. So for all you know, it's not going to give anyone any bad side effects because you don't know who's taking it.
Or somebody who's immune compromised, for that matter, too, because that's a thing, too.
Mm-hmm.
There was one last one that I wanted to point out here, and then I do have some surprise stupidity to close out the show with you here, but an interesting one off of the news and what they were talking about as soon as the vaccine was talked about coming out of this here. Remember when Kamala Harris says there's absolutely no way that I'm going to take the vaccine if it comes out under Trump?
Uh-huh.
She took the vaccine.
Of course she did.
Reporting from CNN, Kamala Harris receives the first dose of Moderna COVID-19 vaccine on camera.
Mm-hmm. Of course. They have to make everybody trust it.
Vice President-elect Kamala Harris received the first dose of the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine live on television Tuesday in Washington, D.C., and urged Americans to get vaccinated for the virus. "That was easy," Harris said after receiving the shot in her left arm. "Thank you. I barely felt it. I want to encourage everyone to get the vaccine. It's relatively painless, happens really quickly, it's very safe," Harris said. "It's literally about saving lives," Harris said. "I trust the
Why does
scientists."
she have a southern accent? She's from California.
I don't know. Whenever I hear Kamala Harris, I think of, you remember Myrtle Urkel, Steve Urkel's cousin from Mississippi?
Yes.
That's who I think of.
Oh, okay.
"It's literally about saving lives. I trust the scientists, and it's the scientists who created and approved this vaccine. So I urge everyone, when it's your
Have a
turn..."
southern accent.
"Don't ask me why we can't. Just say why. Just say we can." So yes, she got it on camera.
Goodness. All right. Well.
All right, I got one last thing for you here. Just a little bit of stupidity for you here. Let me get the image up here because I got the image to go with it. So this comes to us.
I don't have the image.
What's that?
I don't have the image. I can't see it.
Are you watching? No, you're not watching the stream either. How do I do this?
I don't know.
I'll tell you what. I'll go put the cursor by the article in there.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find it. Because I still have the article hidden down in the notes. Where is it?
I was seriously thinking it was going to be the Sasquatch and the bear rape story. That was going to be surprise stupidity for this week.
How could that be a surprise? You're the one that provided that one.
It's a surprise for everyone else. Not for me.
No, my intent is to surprise you. It's on page 5, and I've got the cursor on there, so you can see the picture here. And let me get the picture up here for you off of this one here. As we read from the New York Post. Pakistani man in werewolf mask arrested for scaring people on New Year's Eve.
I did see this one. This is not a surprise. I did see this story. It is very funny.
Maybe there was a full moon. A Pakistani man has been detained for riding through the streets of Peshawar wearing a werewolf mask to scare the people on New Year's Eve, the Indian Express reported. Asad Khan, a resident of the city's Moti neighborhood, reportedly was making roaring noises while riding his motorcycle, according to the outlet, which cited Sagma TV.
Oh my gosh.
The furry suspect had a bone to pick with police, saying he wasn't trying to frighten anyone, but was merely obeying the government's mandate to wear a mask amid the coronavirus pandemic, and technically he was. Social media users howled at the images of the short man who was seen on his bike and later, still wearing the grotesque mask, chained to a police officer.
My son had that same mask for Halloween last year. In 2019. It was a good one. It was scary.
It was a good one here. And yeah, he's technically wearing a mask, so I mean, I don't know what they're busting him for, but I mean, technically he's following the law.
For scaring people? I don't know. Intimidation? Who knows?
I thought that you would enjoy this. I thought the audience would enjoy this one too, and yeah, I thought you'd like this one.
Yeah, it's funny. I did see it, so it wasn't a surprise, though.
All right, that's all that I have.
That's all I have, too.
Let's see what our friends over in the live chat have to say. And then, while you're doing that, I will hit the chest for everybody who's over on D-Live yet. Okay. So you guys get ready to scramble for your lemons.
Ron was saying something about... the laughing from the shock of having something like that happen. I know people who are like that, which I said something similar to that. He's talking about John Cooper, in Nashville. Nailbender says dental records, true, but you wouldn't know which dental records to compare them to if you didn't have an idea of who it was. Mm-hmm. So it would still take some time to track that down.
Well, it was his RV though too, so they had the registration and they were looking at that, so they saw the tags on it.
Yeah, they did have that, so that could have been. It's still another one of those where it's like, you're really going to wrap this up in 48 hours and not really give us a reason, no motivation. There's been no talk of his motivation about this at all, really. So like you were saying, it's just kind of one of those, it's like Vegas all over again, you know. Thankfully, this one was not deadly like that incident was.
But that just raises more questions, the fact that it wasn't deadly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was an infrastructure hit, not he wasn't going for maximum damage on civilian population. Spartan says, thin blue dog killing useless law enforcement constitutional asswipe every day at the police station toilet. Well, okay, tell me how you really feel. He also calls them oath breakers. We're all in agreement on that, I believe. Mandate all cops have clown masks and voted Joe Biden on uniform. Nailbender says it's not a vaccine, it's an mRNA gene therapy injection. It was originally designed to target and treat cancer. Not enough testing to know how it will affect people beyond Bell's palsy. I think the Bell's palsy thing was disproven. Matthew, what did you think about the video from Canada where the police raided a house and arrested a man? I did see that. They arrested police in Gatineau, which is a place where a friend of mine lives with his wife. 6 people inside instead of 5 around New Year's, and they got raided and arrested. That's what you get in Canada.
I might have to sign in here to go hit the chest because it doesn't appear that it's hitting.
Okay. We're all caught up.
Well, let me see what's going on here. Oh, no, it did go. It just didn't show me. It doesn't show on the app. The app is kind of janky, but I can't run the stream and everything else all at the same time. But thank you for the lemon, Ron Helton. The chest is empty, which means that somebody claimed all the stuff that was in it. And
awesome.
That's going to be it here. So we're going to head on out of here. Where's my outro? There it is. All right. And that's going to be it for the day. Thank you, everybody who came by and hung out with us. Some new names in here as well. Matthew Hammond, Nailbender, over on the YouTube side. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us. I will be back here in the morning for more Contemporary, where we will be taking some more of the news off of this here, including, if you guys want to go back and check out the backlog of that, I did talk about the Canadian story this morning. I had to cut it for time for this show, but that was an interesting one to go and watch as well, so I do recommend going back and checking that out. We did stream live to YouTube, DLive, Twitch, Periscope, and Facebook, but if you are just catching up now or want to go back and check out the archives once again, you can find us over on YouTube and over on BitChute.com. Go and check us out over there. You can go down in the description, find our Discord, come and hang out with us over there. We always love to have the conversation, so come on in. Check us out for call-in shows, additional conversation, contemporary, many other things that we do over on this channel, so go and check us out over there. And lastly, go and check out both gunmompassion.com and pick up some of the swag, or freedomscoop.com and check out other great shows, such as the Freckles and Brit Show, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The Generational Gap, The Already Conservative, and The Daily Ignoramus. Check all of them out over there. Pick up some of our swag and help us support great creators. And lastly, as I always say on this show, never take the words of bloggers, podcasters, or journalists as gospel. Find all the facts and draw your own conclusions. Why don't you lead us out with a last word?
Have a great week and make good choices.
Take care, everyone.